the Power Trips Corey Cove at Treasure Island this Saturday for a wild watch party. Stop by at Parlay at 5 p.m. to enter for your chance to win great prizes. Then stick around for the puck drop between the Wild and the Jets at 6 p.m. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
I know sarcasm when I hear it or when I read it. Here's one off the KFAN Brad, Sean, Brian text line 64686. God forbid they mention statistics. There's an old saying I just made up, Teneby. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Too many stats spoil the broadcast. Some stats are nice, especially maybe current ones for the game. I don't mind. Third sack of the game for Joe Bag of Donuts. It's important to know he's having a big game. I don't need to know that he led his high school in tackles 10 years ago. I don't need to know that. Stats are nice when they're well placed and not overdone. It's like anything in a broadcast, as long as it's not overdone. That'd be like if you had some guy as a host of a talk show just constantly blowing his horn. I mean, after a while, wouldn't you think that?
Well, even just like a broadcast where they just do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes,
right?
It doesn't
come up with something new.
That's what I would say. Freshen it up. Get some help. No. What did the guy say about me? Freshen it up,
or at least get some help. Is the last part.
Yes, or at least get some help. Oh, I've had a lot of people that have been very, very bitter about things. I wasn't. Remember when I said I saw a story about a record number of three-pointers made? Then several people sent me text messages saying there was a record number of three-pointers missed. There also was a record number of three-pointers made. I knew I wasn't imagining it. This is was a CBS Sports story. Hold on. I don't need to see the highlights. I've seen people make three-pointers before. Here it goes. Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors combined to make an NBA record 48 three-pointers on Sunday. Dallas pulled out a 143-133 win in San Fran. The previous mark of 44 had just been tied by the Utah Jazz and Phoenix Suns 2 nights before and was originally set by the Sacramento Kings and LA Clippers in a 176-175 triple OT game in February of 2003. Warriors also made a franchise record 18 three-pointers in the first half on Sunday and 27 threes for the game, tied for the most in franchise history. They were the most ever by an NBA team in a loss. Teams were previously 11-0 when making 27 or more three-pointers. Doncic finished with 45 points, 13 assists, 11 boards. He was 6 for 11 from the arc. Klay Thompson was 7 for 11 from deep. You a big three-point guy? You like watching them rain down threes? I like a little bit of everything in
balance.
Yeah, I like some balance. I really do. I mean, you're going to get the, how do you say the word? Is it outlier? Is that how you say it? Not outlier, but outlier, right? You love your outlier games. I get it. Some days guys are going to be hot. Maybe this is one of those. But it sounds like they just broke a record that was set 2 games before that. It seems like people are settling for 3 more than I have another.
Well, they are. It's an analytics thing.
Yeah.
And, Steph Curry is one of my favorite basketball players of all time. Groundbreaking, not only the accuracy he shoots his 3-point shots from, but the location on the floor, the logo threes. And now what you're seeing is a generation of basketball players that watch Steph Curry.
Correct.
And have now mimicked that. So it's a combination of all these young players now that are in the league watch Steph Curry play. And it's the analytics of shooting 3-pointers is more beneficial to winning games.
Right.
Than getting the ball into the paint and having a guy post up. So, the fact that these records are going down doesn't surprise me. And it's just going to keep going. I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Well, there was one of those analytical type stories that I read. This was within the last year, maybe a little bit longer than that, where it was one of those, when stories include charts, my eyes start to kind of glaze over. but it was showing how shooting from the accompanying chart was leading you to believe that at all levels of basketball, they're sort of saying the 2-point shot isn't even worth your time anymore.
No.
Don't even bother.
Especially the twos that are inside the just inside the 3-point. Don't shoot those.
Yeah, don't
shoot the mid range.
That's exactly.
Dunks or layups or 3-pointers.
Yeah,
those are the most efficient.
And I guess it makes sense that if that's what your analytics tell you should do, even if it's not as. And for some people, it is aesthetically pleasing. There are people that are wowed by a 3-point shot. It is pretty cool. I mean, it takes a skill level that guys like you and I don't have, Tenna. And not a lot of guys in the NBA have Curry's kind of ability to just catch and release from 3-point range with players in your face. I think a lot of times the 3-pointers aren't anybody in your face. That's part of the problem, too. The defense is just not always played at a real high level, but
well, they're watching these guys like Luka too do the step back threes. Steph can do the step back threes, so now they're practicing it when they're younger.
Well, I think they just like saying logo 3.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the thing is that's the new lingo to say logo 3, and I that's like yesterday's game between the Bills and the Kid is just like, could I have 1 3 and out? Can we make one defensive play? Just one team make a defensive play? I mean, there were a handful of defensive plays. Bills, matter of fact, on the Lions' first possession, the Lions, I don't think they gained any yards at all. I think it was 4th and 10, or maybe they even lost a couple of yards. But I like a little blend. I don't mind some offense, but I want to see some defense as well, especially in the NBA. After a while, just watching guys just rear up and knock down threes after a while. Breaking news, is this, let me guess, local related?
I guess kind of, because they're in the race to win the division that we're in, but it's official now. Your guy, Dan Campbell, announces that David Montgomery, running back, will undergo season-ending knee surgery. So he's out for the year now officially. Demo
Dunzo, he was Knuckles on the duo of Sonic and Knuckles, and yeah, it's Lieber and I talked about this. And injuries we talked about a couple of weeks ago. He and I text and talk more than most people know. He happened to be here it was well past the morning show because I'm never here that early. So maybe he just came in to do some production work. But no, you know what? He was probably a guest of the Paul Allen Project. We were talking about injury-riddled teams. And even then, the Lions were missing 4 or 5 defensive starters. And he agreed with me. He said, injury is part of the game. If it happens, it happens. But he would rather watch teams as close to full strength as they can be play each other. And I like that too. And of course, as a Lions fan, I really would like to see it now. But I don't like when a team's injury riddled. It's like, I mean, I'm not saying it cheapens the win. Your guys aren't healthy. Sorry. It's like the old Hagler line. God, I've repeated this one so many times. It's one of my favorite quotes in all the sports. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, former middleweight champion of the world, fight Mustafa Hamsho. Stopped the fight in the 11th round. Hamsho had to have 73 stitches to close up the cuts in his face. 73 stitches. Oh, the fight was amazing to the point where Hagler would hit him with a bunch of combinations for like 30 seconds, and he'd step back waiting for Hamsho to fall, and Hamsho would just stick his tongue out at him. I wasn't very bright, but he was pretty tough. And they asked Hagler about it. He said, well, I saw the meat hanging down from around his eyes, and I thought, better him than me. So I just kept punching. So better their team has the injuries than mine. If they do, I'm not going to let up on them. No one's going to feel sorry for anybody. But yeah, that Lions club it's the injury bug has more. They've received more than their fair share of injuries. Back to that. This is a good story. Maybe we'll do this on the other side of the break instead, Kennedy. This is it's another CBS Sports Stories. It's from earlier this month. Miserable free throw parade ruins Celtics versus Cavaliers finish. Here's how the NBA can fix the problem. Because you and I, that's both one of our pet peeves. And I think most people, even those in the basketball community that love the game, that free throw parade at the end just slows the game. It's like It's like a funeral march.
It's not fun to watch either.
It's not even fun to watch. We'll talk about that. We have other items to get to as well. Common Man program along with Tenna B right here on the Fan.
Lakefront Music Fest is back and bigger than ever. Don't miss out on Rock Night on Friday, July 11th.
Rock Night, Friday, July 11th.
Headlined by Foreigner. With support from 38 Special.
No, not 38 Special and Foreigner.
And Loverboy. Tickets are on sale now, but are going fast. Get the full details and your tickets today at KFAN.com.
I'll give you a pair of tickets.
Keyword calendar.
I'll give you a pair of tickets to that concert if you can tell me one Loverboy song. I think they had one hit. I don't remember the name of it. I think it was Don't You Want Me, Baby.
Oh, yeah. Is that them? I could give you Foreigner. I think I could give you 38 Special, but yeah.
The only one I know by 38 Special is Hold On Loosely. If I'm not mistaken, 38 Special early on was not very popular in the United States. Yeah, they had their following, but they weren't, I mean, you weren't saying 38 Special. You were just saying 38 Special. Then they did live at Budokan. They did a live album, a show in Japan. I think Budokan is in Japan, isn't it? Is that where Budokan is?
No idea.
Can you Google it?
How do you spell it?
Buddha. B-U.
Oh, Buddha. Got it.
B-U. I don't know if there's an H in there.
D-D-A-H-A.
Yeah, something like that. And it was like...
And just C-O-N?
It could be. And it was one of the biggest selling albums of all time, I think. I know we've suddenly morphed into rock talk here, but...
There's a restaurant in Budokan in New York.
Well, anyway, that's the story.
Loverboy had...
Turn Me Loose.
Working for the Weekend, which was a big hit.
Oh, they did? Okay.
And then back when we used to be able to play actual music on here after Vikings wins, we'd play Lovin' Every Minute of It.
Oh, is that Loverboy too?
That's Loverboy.
Oh, they had more than one hit. Why am I dissing them like that? They also did...
The Kid Is Hot Tonight.
No wonder we say Loverboy.
And the 38 Specials Caught Up in You.
Oh, yeah. Little girl.
Hold On Loosely.
Yeah, Hold On Loosely. I mean, this is one banger after another. How could you not want to go to that concert?
And then Foreigner's got Urgent.
And they also got Don't Stop Believin'. They have Wheel in the Sky. Faithfully, Wheel in the Sky. And, yeah, they're good. Oh, their best ballad is, another great ballad they have is, I can't remember the name of it now. Open Arms. They have a great ballad called Open Arms. Foreigner. With Steve Perry, lead singer.
I went and saw, what's the other name of the band? Journey, yeah. I saw them at the State Fair years ago, but of course they had a new lead singer.
Right.
And I just had the hardest time. It's one thing if a guitar player
But he sounds just
dead.
like him.
He sounds like him, but when he's up there doing it with emotion, when it's well, I know that's not your song. You know what I mean? It just seems faker to me. It doesn't seem authentic.
I tend to agree.
You're up there acting like you're pouring your heart out and putting all this emotion in. And it's well, I know you didn't write the song.
Yeah. It really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Your voice sounds great.
Yeah.
Band sounds great.
The voice is identical. Same thing when one of my favorite bands, we don't need to do the Who's on First thing. But there's a band named Yes. And John Anderson has been, there's always dissension between
Are you talking
members.
about the band?
No, I'm talking about Yes.
I thought you were talking about the band.
No, I am talking about the band Yes. Who are you talking about? So there's always, it seems like for some reason bands, not every band, but a lot of them will have dissension in the group. They can't get along anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So that's happened with Yes before. And I think it's like John Anderson and I think Steve Howe, the lead guitar player, have had issues. They haven't worked together in a long time. So John Anderson left and they brought in another guy. I saw them at Mystic Lake 6-7 years ago. Sounded exactly like John Anderson. Exactly. But it wasn't. And I get what you're saying. I'm kind of watching going, well, that ain't John Anderson. That's not Heart of the Sunrise by John Anderson. It's by another guy. Sounds just like him. It's the old cover band thing we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Cleveland Cavaliers, this is a couple of weeks ago. Cleveland Cavaliers knocked off the Boston Celtics 115-111 on Sunday in what should have been and easily could have been thrilling fashion. With the Cavs trailing by 5, with a little over 3 minutes left, Donovan Mitchell proceeded to rattle off 3 3-pointers and 11 points over the next 2 minutes. But instead of ending the game on that high note, we were subjected to an all too familiar and frankly torturous conclusion of watching 17 free throws over the final 34 seconds, which in real time lasted almost a half an hour.
You've got to be kidding me.
It was the latest piece of evidence admitted into the case against traditional timed basketball endings. We talked about this last week. Or put another way, in the case for the Elam ending. Remember Jason Elam? Spelled like that. I don't think it's Jason Elam.
Former kicker for the Broncos.
Yes, and I don't think that's the same Elam here. But it's called the Elam ending, which eliminates the running clock at the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter. From that point forward, the game is played to a target score of 7 points greater than the leading team's total. Why they settled on 7, I don't know. Maybe that's 3-possession game, right? You don't want it 2, you'd want it 3. For instance, if Team A is beating Team B 104-100 with 4 minutes to play, the clock stops and the game becomes a race to 111 points.
Yeah.
From an entertainment standpoint, it's a no-brainer. Not only does it guarantee a game-winning shot, but it more importantly eliminates all incentive for the trailing team to intentionally foul, as more free throws would only provide opportunity for the winning team to move closer to the final score. You foul them, they go up to their free throws. They'll get to that winning score much easier. We've seen the Elam ending in a pair of NBA All-Star games, and it's been used for years in the basketball tournament, which was created by John Muger, who explained the logic behind the Elam ending to James Herbert prior to an NBA game. He says, if Naismith invented the game 130 years ago with the Elam ending and someone came along 130 years later and tried to implement the timed ending, it would be like the biggest, most massive failure of all time, with players hitting each other, everything going to the free throw line. Fans would storm out after the game and say, this is the dumbest thing ever. I like this idea. And I know it's not new. It's not like this was, look at, much like a radio station, websites need to fill space. And guys watching the game. I mean, think about 34 points in 17 seconds. Is that what it was? Or was it 17? No, 17 free throws in 34 seconds. That's a free throw every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
My math is correct. And it is the most, I mean, every once in a while we see, how often does the fouling, get them to the free throw line, actually work for the team that's doing the fouling? It does occasionally. It's still not very exciting. It's not much fun to watch. I would be all for this. Would you? It would
100%, because it takes out my least favorite part of basketball, which is the last 2 minutes foul, which nobody wants to watch. It'd be like a baseball game. Baseball game always has to end on an out, right? The game's not over until the out. You'd always have a game-winning shot. Now, I do wonder if it would take away the luster of a game-winning shot. Like right now, like a buzzer beater or a shot at the end to win the game is a great moment for basketball. And I do wonder if that takes a little bit of the shine off of that. I have a solution, though.
Okay.
Just test it out in NBA Cup games. You want to make your NBA Cup be some special, have these games mean more in November and December. Brilliant. Change the rules for those games. See how it goes. And guess what? I'd be more likely to tune into those games knowing that the ending would be different.
Your two sons, they have any interest in playing basketball? Because I think you missed your calling. I think maybe you should be.
But, like the best part about it is, as a hockey guy, when you get into the playoffs and there's overtime, sudden death overtime, there's nothing better. First one to score goals wins. And you're going to have that in basketball games, right? Where it's 109, the next shot wins. You have sudden death. That'd be great.
Brilliant.
The level of intensity that would be on that court at that time.
Okay, there's always people that want to tend to be throw a
wrench.
A wrench. When the winning team just hack a shack to stay ahead. So let's say you're at 104, 100, as was this example. Okay, where's the example again?
Why would they hack a shack? Why would they give away points?
Yeah, see, I don't think they would.
I mean, I guess if literally Shaquille O'Neal is playing and you have a guy who's that bad at free throws, maybe. Most of those guys are hitting 70+%.
But you wouldn't still foul, but you could still foul their worst shooter to increase chances. If they needed a 3 and you need a 3 and you foul, they can't win. Well, if they were in the act of shooting, they could hit 3 threes. So, I mean, maybe it's not perfect. I think it's still better than the.
Well, if you could follow their worst shooter in a tie game situation, well, then they can follow your worst shooter on the next possession down.
This is the only way to play basketball.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, and you're right. Do it during this this made up tournament that they have for really no. Hockey doesn't do that, do they? Baseball doesn't do that, and football doesn't do that, right?
Hockey's going to be doing a Four Nations Cup this year for the first time.
Okay.
It's kind of like a replacement because we don't have the Olympics this year. They've always wanted to get international hockey where it's going to be USA is going to have a team, Canada's going to have a team, Sweden and Finland.
So a little bit of a gimmick, but certainly not.
But it's a different type.
Yeah,
the game's not changing.
And those games aren't going to be counted in the standings, right? Because are these NBA Cup games? They're counted in the standings, aren't they? Yeah,
they count as your win-loss record.
Yeah. Someone says this would kill over/under betting, and I guess the almighty gambling dollar does. You'd have to think that.
How would it kill it? You're just now taking that into consideration because all those games would all be ending the exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah, they would change the over-under. They would say the over-under might be less.
Some scores are going to be higher with 4 minutes and some are going to be lower, but that's still the same as before. They adjust to it.
Why are there always people that want to throw up roadblocks to everything? Can't you just have fun? Let's just try it. I'm all for it. I think we should Tennessee, they're saying you're on fire today because you've got a lot of... No, people are still in. Tenna on fire. Put Blandon out. He's on fire today. Put Blandon on ice. I've seen enough. Think about it. People are excited about your contributions to the show
That's
today.
a very rare occurrence.
Indeed it is. We'll take a break, come back. One more segment to go. Here on the Common Man program along with Tennessee here on The Fan.
Tune in to 9 to noon every Tuesday as PA broadcasts live from TCO to talk all things purple. TCO Tuesdays are powered by Sioux Cup Manufacturing.
I have a question for you, Tennessee. Did you had lunch today before the show, right?
I did.
Did you have any dessert?
No.
I didn't think so because with takes like that, you couldn't be bogged down. You know, if you have dessert, like before old man hockey, you don't play as well. I think if you would have had dessert, you wouldn't have been thinking as clear as you are now. You've been on fire today, young man.
I don't really think I've been on fire. Just usually I set the standards so low.
Maybe that's
that just the expectations for me. I'm just having a Sam Darnold-like moment.
We have a couple of phone calls to get to, but before we get to those, Tennessee, one quick question for you. I stumbled across one of those stories, and I love these because you always get them this time of year. What are the two NFL teams you don't want to play? Right? You know, because somebody's so red hot to just go, I don't care how we match up. You don't want to play them. And they don't include Buffalo in this list or Philadelphia. as well as they've been.
So it's got to be more under the radar teams.
I think these are kind of the under the radar kind of stuff. Who do you think the two teams are? Of the teams that
are in the playoffs or in the playoff mix, I guess?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I said earlier for me in the NFC, it would be Tampa Bay.
They don't have Tampa Bay there.
I figured. No, yeah, everyone dismisses Tampa Bay.
I'm with you. I like Tampa Bay a lot.
I do wonder in the AFC, because it's still a long shot they get in. But they have a chance, and that would be, and I'm saying this even though their defense is maybe the worst in the league, that would be the Cincinnati Bengals. Because their offenses and Joe Burrow have been as good as anybody all season long.
They have two NFC teams.
Purple?
Nope.
Well, they love the Rams.
They love the Rams.
Yeah, they always love the Rams.
Everybody loves the Rams. And they have been playing well, especially when you got those two wide receivers along with Stafford. The other one?
Well, with the Rams, when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams are all playing, their record is extremely good. The problem is just one of them always seems to be out.
The other choice tend to be Green Bay Packers.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my gosh. I don't disagree with that either. I think that's the toughest game left on the Vikings schedule. I'm dismissing Chicago, and I know if they lose, and I'm going to get blamed. You jinxed it, Common. I would say, as Barrero likes to say, I think tonight's game is virtually loser-proof. Virtually. I know anything can happen. I get it.
It's football.
Because like you talked about before, fumble here, missed pitch there, whatever. Seattle,
I think the next three games for the Vikings are all going to be challenging.
Yeah, I think Seattle stuff, but I think Green Bay is really, just because they're playing really well right now, and they're jockeying for Seattle. Yeah, they're still sort of hanging around. I think I've said it 13, 14 times today. I think Detroit's done, but that's just me. Let's take a couple of phone calls. First of all, let's take one from Don. Don, you're on the fan. Thanks for calling. Hey, Don.
I mean, it's like, hello.
Hello, Don. Hello. I didn't put him up, didn't I, Teneby?
No, you did everything right.
We haven't taken a call in so long. I thought maybe I did something wrong. Warren, you're on the fan.
Hi. I think this thing's shaping up pretty much what I thought it would be a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
It's a season of streaks. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen anything quite like it. I don't think the play's very well. I don't think anybody's playing great right now. Philadelphia seems to be playing and Green Bay playing well. But here's what we thought when I was at the Buffalo Wild Wings on Friday. We think Seattle.
Were you there at the Friday football feast?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Seattle is the key to the season. The reason I say that is they can be really tough now with the quarterback going down. That may help them. But as you know, Seattle is a house of horrors for Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, but none of that matters.
They have well,
it doesn't matter if they've had a history. None of those. Matter of fact, the last time the two teams played, Minnesota won.
Right. But I believe if they win that game, they'll win the division. I think the Minnesota will beat Green Bay for the second time. And you got to remember about Green Bay, too.
Wait a second. You think the Packer game for the Vikings is a more sure thing to win than the Seattle game?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, man, that's where we have to part ways. I think the Green Bay game is
Here's the thing with Green Bay, though. Here's the problem with Green Bay.
What's the problem with Green Bay?
Yeah, it showed in the second half of that game last night. Their secondary is really beat up. I think the Vikings receivers and things like that, I think that they can beat them. I think the defensive line for Green Bay is going to really give the Vikings trouble. And here's what's going to beat the Vikings when they go to the playoffs. Big teams that control the clock on offense, like, say, a Baltimore or, a team like Philadelphia. But then what's going to also get them is going to be on defense and offense, both lines controlling the line of scrimmage. And then the only other thing that the Vikings have to worry about, which is in their history, is major injuries. About the time when it gets down to nut cutting time, when you got to win a game, it seems like every time they have them issues, some main person gets injured. And I think that's going to determine And nobody's playing great football right now. Philadelphia's playing pretty good, but I think the size of the lines on offense and defense can either wear them down on offense, defense, and control the clock. I think that's going to be the telling story. And I think the Seattle game, if they win that game, I predict they'll win the division.
All right, thanks. Well,
Yep.
Appreciate that. I don't think that's the key game.
Can I respond? Because apparently all the Vikings fans are going to do the old "we never fare well at Seattle" narrative. So I went ahead and I looked at the Green Bay Packers history in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They've lost 4 straight there, haven't won since 2008. I think we all recall the delicious game in the NFC Championship game. And what did Green Bay do last night?
They won last night.
30-13.
Yep.
They took care of business.
Yeah, you and I think we don't always agree. But I think we both agree with that. Previous results. It's that thing they do with when you sign up with an investment firm. Previous results aren't indicative about future. You know what I'm trying to say about financial firms? Will say previous results are not indicative of future performance or something like that. And I believe that in sports as well. I just do. The example I continue to use, it's one of my favorites. Twins were 0-18 in postseason play. They had the worst losing streak in the 4 major men's sports. Well, then they won 2 games and won a playoff series. So the idea that, well, just because it's happened, or that idea that we always have trouble with Seattle, well,
Sam Darnold always had trouble until this year.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing.
Did Kevin O'Connell coach last time we were in Seattle?
Yeah. Everything has changed. Most of the players, who was the one, which coach said it last year? It was a local coach, and they were talking about, but I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically like, well, none of us here were with that team the last time. That has nothing to do with us. Yeah, sure, okay. But none of us played on that team. None of us were affiliated with that team. So how would that have any bearing on how this game's going? It has none. It has zero bearing. It's none. Phone call from EJ, or is it T? It's EJ. EJ, you're on the fan. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just got to make a comment here.
Okay.
I mean, I used to play football. I went to Arizona State, and then I got drafted by the Arizona Cardinals back then. Back then when you played football, playoffs, you can't even describe it. You're emotional. You're so dominant. So you wait for the playoffs, and you play so much better. You seldom have any mistakes. And second, when you play at a home stadium, when you got 80,000 people rooting for you, they take the time to get off work or whatever to come and support you. There's no such thing as losing at your home game, no matter who you play.
Yeah.
And the Vikings have talent. Receivers, that would be a God's gift to have receivers like that.
Yeah.
And Donald, he's just playing out of his head. And you got to let that ride keep going. But it all comes down to coaching when it comes to playoffs.
You think
Coaching
so?
will take you a long way. Okay. But I'm a Viking fan now. You know, I'm 62 years old, so I'm enjoying the ride that they're doing. I just hope, their attitude is, this is it, man. The party's over. Let's dominate.
Thanks, EJ.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Vikes.
Thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, here came a text message came and says, wasn't that about the Twins and the Yankees? I think it was Baldelli. Well, he didn't play the Yankees. None of us on this team have been involved with the Yankees. We weren't on the team when that last happened. And that's why I just, and I know, especially if you have a team like, I can understand it with the Vikings. I was talking with somebody here that I've worked with for years and years and years. Big Vikings fan. And we were talking before the show. And he was using those I've experienced so much, I'm paraphrasing, but because it's happened in the past, I just kind of expect it to happen again. I'm not getting my hopes up and not doing this and doing that, which is fine. I feel better about this Viking team than I did the 13 and 14. Oh my gosh.
Because this team plays defense.
This team plays defense.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And Darnold is playing at another level that, now, can he sustain it? I don't know. And again, who should get the credit? Well, that's been a discussion that's been going on for weeks now. Most people want to say it's QB Dubs, the whisperer. And I'm not going to I'm sure O'Connell's had a lot to do with it, but it doesn't hurt to have the kind of weapons he has. I don't know if anybody's asked him this or not. If the experience with San Francisco last year had anything to do with his growth. Now, he didn't play.
He played one game.
At the end of the year. But I mean, playing when the get back games on the line where he was the guy. But he watched a team, and I threw these stats out last week. I think under Shanahan, it's been, half a dozen playoff appearances. I think 4 NFC championship games, 2 big games. I mean, and then he watched Brock. I mean, think about this. If you think what Sam Darnold has done is amazing, the one thing you can say about Darnold tend to be, he was the 3rd overall pick in whatever year draft that was. Was it 2017, 2016? Whatever it was. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last player, right? Wasn't he Mr. Irrelevant? The last player selected?
Yes.
So what's a more incredible story? Sam Darnold thing was unexpected. Certainly, you generally don't see quarterbacks drafted in the first round have basically a mediocre career and then all of a sudden get to the level he is at now. But how many times do you see a quarterback who's the last pick in the draft? We always like to bring up, Joe Montana was 3rd pick overall, or 3rd round. And Brady was in the 6th round. Purdy was in the 7th, the last pick. And now, do I think that Purdy is as good as Montana or Brady? Well, of course not. And I do think a lot of it has to do with what's around him, much like with Darnold, right? Shanahan, he's considered the equal of KOC,
yes.
Right? Matter of fact, he's had more success. Now, he's been a head coach longer, but he's had a lot of success. And so, did working in that San Francisco organization and watching that every day from training camp right through the big game, did that help Sam Darnold at all? I got to think it paid all sorts of dividends for him to see how an organization starts from training camp. Now, they lost the big game last year to Kansas City, but when the final 25-22, or it was a 3-point game, I think. Did it go to overtime last year? It was like only the second big game. My memory's bad. I might be making the whole thing up. It might not even have been San Francisco and Kansas City in the World Series. Could have been the Colts and the Rams.
Yeah, Chiefs won 25-22 in overtime.
God, I had the score and OT. Do you think that had anything to do, or do you think that Sam Darnold will go, nah, I didn't learn much there? I got to think he learned a lot watching that. It would just have to, by osmosis, it would have to rub off on you. KOC's played a large part, I'm sure. Probably their quarterback coach. What's his name? McCown, or is it McNown?
Josh McCown.
Josh McCown has probably done a lot. No! Right? His name never gets brought up. Never. He's the quarterback's coach. I'm sure he's in that room every day. And then when you look at the weapons he has as a receiving core, Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson, my 3 sons. It's pretty good to throw to. Now, you also have to give Darnold some of the credit just for sticking with it, the wherewithal. Everybody wants to just basically say, well, it's all KOC. Probably had a lot to do with it. I'm not suggesting it's not, though I guess I kind of am. I think it's a combination of things, and I don't think you can undersell the Shanahan-San Francisco angle to that. I think that had a lot to. Jared Goff played pretty well in Los Angeles, started to go south, pear-shaped, as the kids like to say, gets traded to Detroit. Ben Johnson probably has a lot to do with what Jared Goff has done, but I don't think you can. My guess is what he learned from McVay, even though that ended, McVay gave up on him, basically. But I'm sure he learned a lot from McVay. These guys learn things at different places. So it's, but right now the team that I think the biggest hurdle is Philadelphia. Philadelphia's played on a very high level. That team, they've got a running game, they've got a passing game, and they've got a defense. And they got a coach that's been.
They got a quarterback who can run as well.
Yes, exactly. That's the other thing, too. If you're a fan, if you're a fan of a team like Buffalo with Josh Allen, do you ever get nervous as much as he runs? And he slides a lot, but he also isn't afraid to put his head down.
Well, he's bigger than half the guys trying to tackle him. But yes, I get your point.
Yeah, it's Here's one that says, if the Bills and the Vikings get to the big game, what would the mainstream media narrative be? Of course, two teams are 0-4 in the big game, even though none of the people on either team were involved in those losses. History follows you whether you like it or not. Yeah, that would be the storyline. Of course, two franchises. As long as you say it's two franchises, it's not two teams. Nobody on the Vikings or the Bills were obviously involved in any of those losses. Some of them might not even know the history. Ant didn't even know who A-Rod was. I bet there's guys in the Bills that go, this franchise has been to 0-4, really?
Don't even know. They don't know who Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith even are.
That's exactly right. So, yeah, that would be a storyline that, somebody's always got to go. I did one of my videos yesterday on Twitter. I predicted on Twitter it's going to be Vikings and the Bills, and you're on your own after that, and somebody's has got to go. I think it could very well be those two.
Just because it's a media storyline doesn't mean the players fall into the trap of, we've never won in this game before. Yes. Now I can't perform.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, you and I have never won in this time slot before, and I don't know if we ever will. Actually, we've been doing quite well. Let's do this. Let's turn it over to Big Ticket. Thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed a visit with you today. Pre-game at 5.
Yes.
Be here for the kaboom at 7:20. Vikings.
Just at 7.
At 7?
It's at 7.
Oh, it's at 7?
Yeah.
Vikings and Bears. Be here for the kaboom. It's whiteout. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, right for the Ben Johnson Show. Rosen will join us at 2. Big Ticket and JG are next on the Fan.
Good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
Hell no, we're going to go to playoffs. I'll tell you that right now.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.